The year 1970 was a remarkable and transformative period. It was characterized by social and political upheaval and the evolution of popular culture. From the ongoing Vietnam War and the burgeoning environmental movement to the emergence of new music genres and fashion trends, 1970 was a time of change, innovation, and cultural shifts. Join Facts First as we present the most historic aspects of the year 1970. U.S. events. The year 1970 in the United States witnessed several major news events. One of the most significant occurrences was the ongoing anti-Vietnam War sentiment that had been building for years. In May of that year, the Kent State University shootings shocked the nation and the world when National Guardsmen opened fire on unarmed student protesters, resulting in the deaths of 4 students and 9 being injured. The incident intensified the anti-war movement, leading to widespread protests and the calls for the withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam. Another notable event was the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, by President Richard Nixon in response to growing concerns about pollution and environmental degradation. This marked a crucial step in addressing environmental issues in the U.S. And 1970 saw the passage of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, or OSHA, which aimed to improve workplace safety and protect the rights of workers. World events. The year 1970 was a momentous one in global history. As we mentioned, the Vietnam War continued, and it expanded as the U.S. began military operations in Cambodia as well, intensifying an already deeply unpopular war. Another pivotal event was the outbreak of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict that came to be known as the Black September Crisis. In September, Palestinian terrorists from the group Black September seized control of the Jordanian capital, Amman, leading to a bloody conflict between Palestinian militants and Jordanian forces. This crisis heightened tensions in the Middle East and had repercussions for regional stability for years to come, ultimately shaping the dynamics of the Arab-Israeli conflict. 1970 also saw the signing of the Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, a landmark agreement aimed at preventing the spread of nuclear weapons and promoting disarmament. Music. The year 1970 was pivotal in music, with several iconic artists and songs making a lasting impact. One of the most notable music acts of the year was the Beatles, though they had officially disbanded. Their final studio album, Let It Be, was released in May of 1970 and included classics like Let It Be and The Long and Winding Road. Another legendary artist who dominated the scene was Simon and Garfunkel. They released their highly acclaimed album, Bridge Over Troubled Water, featuring the title track, an iconic song that went on to win several Grammys. And 1970 saw the rise of other influential artists and bands like Led Zeppelin with their epic Whole Lotta Love, as well as Elton John, who released his self-titled album featuring hits like Your Song. Movies and TV. One of the most celebrated films of 1970 was Patton, directed by Franklin Schaffner and starring George C. Scott as General George S. Patton during World War II. The film was a critical and commercial success, earning Scott an Academy Award for Best Actor in his memorable portrayal of the enigmatic military leader. Patton also won the Oscar for Best Picture and remains a classic war film. All in the Family made its debut on television in 1970. Created by Norman Lear, this groundbreaking sitcom featured the character of Archie Bunker, played by Carroll O'Connor, and tackled social and political issues with humor and sharp wit. All in the Family quickly became a cultural phenomenon and one of the most watched shows of the year. Another notable film was MASH, directed by Robert Altman. This black comedy set during the Korean War introduced audiences to the irreverent humor of the staff at a mobile army surgical hospital. Fashion. The fashion trends of 1970 were a vibrant reflection of the cultural shifts and evolving societal norms of the era. One of the most iconic fashion elements of the 70s was the continuation of the hippie and bohemian styles that had gained popularity in the late 60s. Tie-dye patterns, flowing maxi dresses, and peasant blouses were all the rage, embracing a laid-back, free-spirited aesthetic. Bell-bottom pants, often adorned with intricate embroidery or patchwork, became a staple in both men's and women's wardrobes, symbolizing the era's countercultural and anti-establishment sentiments. Disco fashion also began to emerge, setting the stage for the glamorous and flashy styles of the latter part of the decade. Glittering and sequined garments, platform shoes, and bold, colorful prints became synonymous with discotheque culture. Additionally, jumpsuits, often made of metallic fabrics, gained popularity among both men and women. Hairstyles were equally distinctive, with long, flowing locks for both men and women being in vogue. The shag haircut, characterized by its layered, messy look, became a symbol of the era's casual and relaxed approach to style. Common staples. In 1970, the cost of common staples in the U.S. was significantly lower than today's prices. The price of a gallon of milk in 1970 was around $1.15 on average. Prices might have varied depending on the region and type of milk. A loaf of bread cost about 25 to 30 cents. The cost of a gallon of gasoline in 1970 was roughly 36 cents per gallon on average. Gas prices were relatively low during this time, and it was a period of affordable fuel compared to later decades. The price of a new car in 1970 could vary widely depending on the make, model, and features, but on average, new cars cost around $3,500 to $4,000. The cost of a house in 1970 depended on location, size, and other factors, but on average, the median home price in the U.S. was around $23,000. Of course, inflation has significantly increased the cost of these items over the years. What was considered affordable in 1970 would be considered relatively inexpensive by today's standards when adjusted for inflation. Toys. The popular toys of 1970 reflected the changing trends and cultural influences of the era. One of the most iconic toys was the Nerf ball, introduced by Parker Brothers. This soft, foam ball quickly gained popularity because it could be thrown and caught indoors without causing damage, making it a hit with kids and parents alike. The Nerf ball paved the way for the development of various other Nerf products and became a staple in backyard games and recreational activities. Another notable toy that captivated imaginations of children in 1970 was the G.I. Joe action figure. Hasbro's line of G.I. Joe figures allowed kids to recreate military adventures and scenarios, complete with a wide range of accessories and vehicles. G.I. Joe became an enduring franchise, evolving over the years to include different themes and characters. And 1970 saw the continued popularity of classic toys like Barbie dolls, Hot Wheels cars, and Lego sets. The decade marked a transition from the simpler toys of the past to more action-oriented and creative playthings, and it started in 1970. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you remember most about 1970? Let us know in the comments section below.